Captain Jake Morrison stared out the viewport of the exploration ship Liberty as it approached Kepler-7. The small outpost planet looked peaceful from space, its 3 moons casting long shadows across the surface. Jake had been traveling for 6 months to reach this place, following strange radio signals that Earth's long-range sensors had picked up. "Captain, we're getting a response to our hailing frequencies," said Tony Rodriguez from the communication station. His dark eyes showed confusion as he listened to his headset. "They're speaking English, sir, but they sound surprised to hear from us." Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her science station. "That's impossible. No human colonies exist this far out. We would know about them." Jake walked over to Tony's station. "Put them on speaker." A rough voice crackled through the ship's speakers. "Unknown human vessel, this is Kepler-7 station. Please identify yourselves immediately. We thought all human ships were lost in the silence barrier." Silence barrier. Jake raised an eyebrow. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth vessel Liberty. We're on an exploration mission. What do you mean by lost ships?" There was a long pause before the voice responded. "Captain, you need to dock immediately. Commander Harris will explain everything. Docking Bay 3 is open for you." Sam Collins, the ship's engineer, glanced up from his control panel. "Captain, their technology is way more advanced than ours. These docking systems are at least 50 years ahead of Earth tech." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Something was very wrong here. "Take us in, Sam. Everyone stay alert." The Liberty settled into the docking bay with a soft thud. Through the airlock window, Jake could see several people waiting for them. They wore uniforms he didn't recognize, with strange patches and symbols. "Tony, Lisa, Sam, you're with me. Keep your sidearms ready, but don't draw them unless I give the order." The airlock cycled open, and Jake stepped onto the station. The gravity felt normal, but the air had a metallic taste to it. A tall woman with graying hair approached them. Her uniform was military, but the design was unlike anything from Earth. "Captain Morrison, I'm Commander Rachel Harris. Welcome to Kepler-7. She looked troubled. "How long have you been traveling from Earth?" 6 months. We left in March of 2387. Rachel's face went pale. "Captain, I need you to sit down. What I'm about to tell you will be hard to believe." "I'm fine standing, Commander. What's going on here?" Rachel took a deep breath. "The galaxy has been at war for the last 300 years. A species called the Devourers has been destroying entire star systems. The Galactic Coalition finally defeated them 2 years ago." Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "War? What war? Earth never received any messages about a galactic war." "That's because of something called the silence barrier. It's a cosmic phenomenon that blocked all communication to and from your solar system. The Coalition tried to contact Earth for help, but the messages never got through." Lisa stepped forward. "Are you saying humanity fought this war alone?" Rachel shook her head. "No, Dr. Parker. Humanity never knew the war existed. You've been completely isolated for 3 centuries. Sam's jaw dropped. "But if there was a war, and these Devourers were destroying star systems, how did Earth survive?" "That's what puzzles everyone here," Rachel said. "According to Coalition records, several Devourer fleets headed toward your sector. They never returned. The Coalition assumed Earth was destroyed like so many other worlds." Jake's mind raced. "You're telling me that Earth somehow fought off these Devourers without knowing there was a galactic war?" "Not just fought them off, Captain. Our long-range sensors showed Devourer ship debris around your solar system. Lots of it." Tony whistled low. "Earth kicked their butts, and we didn't even know we were in a war." Rachel nodded grimly. "The Coalition wants to know how humanity survived. More importantly, they want to know what weapons you used." The briefing room was filled with tension as Captain Jake Morrison sat across from 3 beings unlike anything he had ever seen. Ambassador Creeth looked like a giant lizard wearing formal robes, his yellow eyes studying Jake with obvious suspicion. Crystal singer Velith sparkled like a living gemstone, her voice creating musical tones when she spoke. Between them sat a human woman in a coalition uniform. Captain Morrison, the human woman, began. "I'm Admiral Susan Blake, Earth's liaison with the coalition. I've been waiting 30 years for this moment." Jake's head was still spinning from the last hour of explanations. "Admiral, you're from Earth. How did you get here?" "My ship passed through the silence barrier just before it fully formed. I've been working with the coalition ever since, hoping someone else would make it through." Ambassador Kreith leaned forward, his claws tapping on the metal table. "Captain Morrison, we need to understand how your species survived the Devourer attacks. Our records show at least 12 hive ships entered your system." "Hive ships?" Jake asked. Velith's crystalline voice chimed like bells. "Each hive ship carries millions of Devourers. One ship can drain the life from an entire planet in days. 12 ships should have consumed your entire solar system." Admiral Blake pulled up a hologram showing space around Earth. "But look at this, Captain. These are the debris fields we've detected around your system. The Devourer ships were completely destroyed." Jake studied the hologram. "I remember some unusual meteor showers when I was younger. The government said they were natural phenomena." Kreith's tongue flicked out nervously. "Captain, our weapons barely scratched Devourer hulls. They had biological armor that adapted to our attacks. How did Earth destroy them?" "I honestly don't know. Earth never had weapons powerful enough to fight space battles." Dr. Lisa Parker stepped forward. She had been quiet during the briefing, but now her scientist mind was working. "Admiral Blake, can we analyze the debris? Maybe we can understand what happened." "We've tried," Velith sang. "The wreckage shows blast patterns we've never seen. Some ships appear to have been torn apart from the inside. Others show signs of dimensional folding." Dimensional folding. Jake felt more confused by the minute. Admiral Blake nodded grimly. "Space-time was actually bent around these ships. The physics involved are beyond our current understanding." Ambassador Kreith stood and began pacing. "This is what concerns the Coalition Council. Your species use technologies and methods that violate every war treaty we signed. Biological warfare, dimensional weapons, artificial intelligence integration with military systems." "Wait," Jake interrupted. "We don't have any of those things. Earth's most advanced weapons are nuclear missiles." "Then explain this," Velith chimed, projecting another hologram. "This is a coalition ship that tried to investigate the debris near your system 5 years ago. It detected active AI signatures and self-replicating nanobots among the wreckage." Lisa gasped. "That's impossible. Earth banned AI research after the 2341 incident." Admiral Blake looked uncomfortable. "Captain, there's something else. We've intercepted some transmissions from Earth. Your planet has been broadcasting victory messages about defeating the swarm and praising something called Project Guardian." Jake's blood ran cold. "Project Guardian was classified above my level. I've heard rumors, but nothing concrete." Kreith's eyes narrowed. "The Coalition spent 300 years developing weapons to fight the Devourers. We lost billions of lives learning how to hurt them. Your species did it without breaking a sweat, and used forbidden methods to do it." Velith added, her tone accusatory. Jake stood up, anger rising in his chest. "You're acting like Earth did something wrong by surviving. We didn't even know there was a war." "That's exactly the problem," Admiral Blake said quietly. "Humanity developed godlike weapons in secret and used them against an enemy they didn't understand. The Coalition fears what else Earth might be hiding." Ambassador Kreith turned to face Jake directly. "Captain Morrison, your ship's arrival has created a crisis. The Coalition Council is split. Half want to welcome humanity as heroes who saved the galaxy. The other half want to quarantine your entire system as a dangerous threat. We've seen what humans can do when they don't follow the rules," Velith chimed ominously. "The question is, are you our salvation or our next enemy?" Jake looked around the room at the suspicious faces staring at him. Earth had won a war they never knew they were fighting, using weapons that didn't exist. Now humanity faced a new challenge, proving they could be trusted with power they didn't understand. "I need to get back to Earth," Jake said finally. "Someone there has answers, and I think it's time the Coalition met the people who saved their galaxy." The room fell silent as the three Coalition representatives exchanged glances. The war with the Devourers was over, but Jake realized humanity's trials had just begun. 3 days after the shocking meeting at Kepler 7, Captain Jake Morrison found himself aboard the Coalition ship Harmony, heading toward a classified research station. Admiral Blake had arranged for him to see classified files about Earth's war efforts. The truth was stranger than Jake had imagined. Dr. Kenny Walsh, a pale man in his 60s, met them at the research station's docking bay. His Coalition uniform looked too big on his thin frame, and his eyes held the tired look of someone who had seen too much. "Captain Morrison, I've been analyzing the data from your system for 20 years, Dr. Walsh said as they walked through sterile corridors. "What Earth did during the Devourer attacks defies everything we know about warfare." They entered a secure room filled with holographic displays. Dr. Walsh activated the first one, showing a timeline of events. The first Devourer high ship reached Earth's outer planets in 2098, he began. Our long-range sensors detected the usual pattern: biological scouts, followed by consumption of outer planet resources. Jake studied the display. "I don't remember any crisis in 2098. Earth's history books mention unusual solar activity, but nothing about aliens." "That's because Earth's government activated something called the Ghost Protocol," Dr. Walsh continued. "General Frank Morris led the operation. Every record shows he died in 2089, but our sensors detected him commanding fleets until 2156. Admiral Blake stepped closer to the display. "Show him the fleet compositions, Kenny." The hologram changed to show ship designs unlike anything Jake recognized. The vessels looked organic, with flowing curves and surfaces that seemed alive. "These are Earth's ghost ships," Dr. Walsh explained. "They appear to be part biological, part mechanical. Our analysis suggests they could phase shift between dimensions to avoid Devourer attacks." "That's impossible," Jake protested. "Earth doesn't have dimension-shifting technology." "Look at this battle footage," Dr. Walsh said, activating another display. Jake watched in amazement as Earth ships seemed to disappear and reappear behind Devourer vessels. The human ships fired weapons that tore holes in space itself, creating black spots that swallowed entire sections of enemy craft. "The Devourers adapt to regular weapons," Admiral Blake explained. "But these dimensional attacks hit them in ways they couldn't evolve against." Dr. Walsh pulled up another file. "Then there's Dr. Amy Chen's contribution. She created what Earth called living ships." The new display showed vessels that moved like massive sea creatures, their hulls rippling and shifting. Jake watched as one ship was badly damaged by Devourer fire, only to regenerate its missing sections within minutes. "The ships have biological components that learn from Devourer attacks," Dr. Walsh continued. "They actually got stronger each time they were hit." Jake felt sick to his stomach. Earth created biological warships. That's banned by every civilized species in the galaxy. "It gets worse," Admiral Blake said grimly. "Show him the AI integration." The hologram displayed ship schematics where organic and mechanical parts merged with glowing neural networks. Jake could see artificial brains connected to both human crew members and ship systems. "Earth didn't just put AI in their ships," Dr. Walsh explained. "They merged human consciousness with artificial intelligence and ship biology. The crews became part of their vessels." "This is insane," Jake whispered. "How did Earth's government approve such things?" "According to our records, they didn't," Admiral Blake replied. "General Morris and Dr. Chen operated outside government control. They created a shadow military using technologies Earth officially didn't possess." Dr. Walsh activated a final display showing a massive space battle. The last major Devourer attack on Earth was in 2156, Watch this. Jake saw hundreds of Devourer high ships surrounding Earth, their biological hulls pulsing with dark energy. Then the ghost fleet appeared, materializing from thin air around the enemy formation. The ghost ships didn't just fight the Devourers, Dr. Walsh said. They absorbed them. Look at the energy readings. Jake watched as Earth's living ships seemed to drain the Devourers' life force, growing larger and more powerful with each enemy they destroyed. Earth didn't just win the war, Admiral Blake said quietly. It consumed the enemy. The Ghost Fleet turned the Devourers' own tactics against them. Jake stared at the displays, his mind racing. Earth had created weapons that violated every rule of civilized warfare, led by people who were supposed to be dead, using technologies that shouldn't exist. Captain, Dr. Walsh said, there's one more thing. These ghost ships and living ships, our sensors show they're still active around Earth. Whatever Earth created to fight the Devourers, it's still out there, waiting. Jake realized that his mission to explore space had become something much more dangerous. Earth wasn't just hiding its past, it was guarding secrets that could reshape the entire galaxy. Dr. Helen Wright stepped into the Coalition's Xenobiology lab on Station Alpha 7, her hands shaking slightly as she carried a sealed container. Admiral Blake and Captain Morrison followed behind her, both looking concerned about what they might discover. The tests are complete, Dr. Wright announced to the small gathering. What we found changes everything we thought we knew about human resistance to Devourer infection. She placed the container on the examination table and activated a holographic display. Ambassador Kreith and Crystal Singer-Velith materialized as holograms, joining the meeting from their respective homeworlds. Dr. Wright, Kreith's image hissed, "Show us your findings." The Coalition Council demands answers. Helen activated the first display, showing brain scans of various species. These are neural patterns of beings exposed to Devourer psychic attacks. Notice how the Saurian, Nexari, and mechanical minds show immediate corruption patterns. The brain scans showed dark spots spreading through the neural tissue like a disease. Jake watched with growing horror as he realized what he was seeing. Devourer parasites don't just consume biological matter, Helen explained. They infect the mind, turning their victims into willing servants. This is how they conquered so many worlds so quickly. And humans? Admiral Blake asked, though Jake suspected she already knew the answer. Helen switched to a new display showing human brain scans. The patterns looked completely different. Instead of dark infection, the neural pathways seemed to glow with unusual activity. Human minds don't just resist Devourer infection, Helen said. They actually reverse it. Watch this. She played a recording showing a captured Devourer creature in a containment field. A human technician named Carol Johnson approached the cage and began talking to the creature in a calm voice. Subject showed typical aggressive behavior until human contact, Helen narrated. Then something extraordinary happened. On the screen, the Devourer's movements became less violent. Its black, writhing form seemed to slow down as Carol continued speaking to it. The human subject was using childhood stories and nursery rhymes, Helen explained. The Devourer's psychic attacks weakened with each story told. Velith's crystalline voice chimed with confusion. Stories, children's tales. How can fiction affect psychic parasites? Helen brought up another display showing neural activity graphs. Human imagination creates unique thought patterns that Devourer minds can't process. It's like giving them information that doesn't make sense. She showed more test footage where human children's books were played near captured Devourers. The creatures became increasingly agitated and weak when exposed to fairy tales and fantasy stories. Admiral Jack Harrison discovered this by accident, Helen continued. During an attack on the research station Miranda, his daughter's storybook fell near a Devourer prisoner. The creature became docile within minutes. Jake found this hard to believe. You're saying that bedtime stories are weapons against aliens? Not just stories, Helen clarified. Any creative human thinking seems to work. Poetry, music, Even daydreaming creates neural patterns that devourers find toxic. She activated a final display showing human soldiers in battle. Instead of wearing traditional armor, they had devices that projected their thoughts outward. Earth's military discovered that human creativity could be weaponized, Helen explained. Soldiers would think about impossible things: flying elephants, singing trees, dancing robots, and broadcast these thoughts at devourer fleets. Admiral Blake nodded grimly. The imagination protocol. Command thought it was a joke until it actually worked. This explains our battle reports, Kreith admitted reluctantly. Human ships broadcasting children's songs confused entire devourer formations. Helen brought up one last piece of evidence, a recording from Earth's archives. It showed a classroom of children being taught to imagine specific scenarios during air raid drills. Earth's government trained its entire population in creative thinking exercises, she revealed. Every human became a potential weapon against devourer mental attacks. Veleth's image flickered with what Jake assumed was amazement. Your species turned its greatest strength, imagination, into a defense mechanism. But there's more, Helen said, hesitating. Our tests show that humans exposed to devourer psychic energy don't just resist it. They change it. She showed brain scans of humans who had been in prolonged contact with devourers. Instead of being corrupted, the humans showed enhanced creative abilities and improved problem-solving skills. Earth didn't just fight the devourers, Helen concluded. It absorbed their psychic energy and transformed it into something beneficial. Human creativity literally evolved during the war. Jake felt overwhelmed by these revelations. Humanity hadn't just survived the Devourer War through luck or superior weapons. They had won because their minds worked in ways that the aliens couldn't understand or counter. Dr. Wright, Jake asked quietly, does this mean humans are immune to all psychic attacks? Not immune, she replied. But your species processes impossible ideas so naturally that psychic parasites can't find anything logical to attach to. You're protected by your own imagination. Ambassador Kreith's image leaned forward. The Coalition must decide what to do with a species that can think the impossible and make it real. Jake realized that Earth's greatest gift might also be its greatest danger to a galaxy that valued order and logic above all else. The red alert sirens screamed throughout Coalition Command Station as Captain Steve Johnson burst into the main briefing room. His scout ship had just returned from the Outer Rim with news that made everyone's blood run cold. Admiral Blake, Captain Morrison, you need to see this immediately, Steve panted, still in his flight suit. His face was pale, and his hand shook as he activated the holographic display. The room filled with gasps as the images appeared. Dozens of new ships hung in space around a distant star system. Ships with the distinctive organic curves and black bio-armor of Devourer craft. That's impossible, Admiral Blake said firmly. All Devourer forces were destroyed 2 years ago. The Coalition confirmed it. Steve shook his head. These aren't the same Devourers we fought. They're different, evolved. He zoomed in on one of the ships. Instead of the chaotic growth patterns of old Devourer vessels, these craft showed organized, almost geometric designs. Their black hulls had silver lines running through them like veins. How many ships? Captain Morrison asked. 73 confirmed, sir, and they're moving toward Coalition space. Crystal Singer Veleth materialized as a hologram beside them, her usual musical voice now sharp with fear. The Nexus fleet was supposedly destroyed at the Battle of Void's End. How can they have returned? Show them the battle footage, Steve, Admiral Blake ordered. The display changed to show Steve's ship hidden behind an asteroid, recording the distant Devourer fleet. As they watched, a Coalition patrol ship approached the alien formation. That's the cruiser Melbourne, Admiral Blake identified. They were on routine patrol in that sector. The Coalition ship fired its weapons at the nearest Devourer vessel. The energy beams that had proven effective against the old Devourers simply bounced off these new ships like water off stone. They've adapted, Steve explained grimly. Whatever we used to hurt them before doesn't work anymore. The recording showed the Melbourne trying different weapons. Plasma cannons, particle beams, even the new reality distortion torpedoes developed after studying Earth's weapons. Nothing penetrated the improved Devourer armor. Then the alien ships responded. Black tendrils shot out from the Devourer vessels, not to destroy the Coalition ship, but to capture it. The Melbourne was pulled into the alien formation and disappeared inside a larger vessel. They're not destroying ships anymore, Steve reported. They're taking them, along with the crews. Admiral Blake's face went white. How many Coalition ships have gone missing in the last month? 17, Admiral. All in the outer sectors. Captain Morrison studied the tactical display. They're testing our defenses, learning our patrol routes and weapon capabilities. Sir, Steve said quietly, there's more. Show tactical display 7-7 Alpha. The hologram shifted to show a star map with red markers indicating Devourer sightings. The pattern made everyone in the room step back in alarm. They're moving toward Earth, Morrison realized. Not just Earth, Admiral Blake said. They're moving toward every major Coalition world. This looks like preparation for a coordinated assault. Velith's harmonic voice became strained. The Coalition Council believed the Devourer threat was over. Most worlds have reduced their military forces to peacekeeping levels. Steve activated another display showing Coalition fleet positions. The sight was depressing. Most ships were scattered across the galaxy on diplomatic missions or stationed at peaceful trade routes. The Coalition has maybe 300 active warships ready for combat, Admiral Blake calculated, against 73 evolved Devourer ships. That might not be enough. Admiral, Captain Morrison said slowly, what about Earth's Ghost Fleet? The ships that Dr. Walsh showed us. Earth's fleet is still classified as extremely dangerous by the Coalition Council, Blake replied. Half the leadership wants to quarantine your entire system. But those ships defeated the Devourers before, Steve pointed out, and violated every law of civilized warfare doing it. Velith chimed. The Council fears Earth's methods almost as much as they fear the Devourers. Morrison walked over to the tactical display, studying the approaching enemy formation. Admiral, if these new Devourers are heading for Coalition worlds, and our regular weapons don't work against them, what choice do we have? Admiral Blake was quiet for a long moment. I've been in contact with Earth Command through quantum entanglement transmitters. They've been monitoring the situation. And, Morrison asked, Earth's Ghost Fleet has been on high alert since the first Devourer sighting. General Frank Morris, yes, he's still alive and still commanding, sent a message this morning. Blake activated a small device, and a gravelly voice filled the room. Admiral Blake, Coalition Command. The bogeys you've detected match our worst fears. The Prime Devourer Nexus survived and has been rebuilding. Standard Coalition weapons won't scratch their new armor. If you want to save your worlds, you'll need the Ghost Fleet. But be warned, we do things our way, and your people might not like our methods. The message ended, leaving the room in silence. Captain Morrison looked around at the worried faces. It sounds like Earth is offering to save the galaxy again. At the cost of our principles, Velith sang mournfully. Steve Johnson stepped forward. Ma'am, with respect, principles don't mean much if we're all dead. Admiral Blake nodded slowly. I'll contact the Coalition Council. God help us all, but we're going to need the humans again. The Coalition High Council chamber on Galactic Central buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 species argued about humanity's place in their civilization. Chancellor Thex9 of the Mechanical Ascendancy stood at the center podium, its robotic voice cutting through the noise. Order. We must reach a decision about the human question immediately, Thex9 announced, its red optical sensors glowing brighter. Ambassador Kreeth slammed his clawed hand on his desk. The humans saved us from the Devourers, yes, but they did it using methods that violate every principle we hold sacred. Hive Queen Zill of the insectoid swarms clicked her mandibles in agreement. My scouts report human vessels near our borders. Their biosignatures are unnatural. Wrong. Captain Morrison stood in the center of the chamber, feeling like he was on trial. Admiral Blake sat beside him, while Colonel Nick Brown had just finished his presentation about human special operations. Colonel Brown, Chancellor Fexnine addressed the soldier. Explain to the Council your boarding techniques against Devourer vessels. Nick stood up, his combat uniform still showing scorch marks from recent battles. We use phase insertion pods that slip through dimensional barriers. Once inside enemy ships, my teams work with ship-bonded AI to locate vital systems. Ship-bonded AI. Hive Queen Zill's compound eyes focused on Nick with obvious disgust. You merge organic minds with artificial intelligence. It's more than that, Nick replied calmly. Our soldiers share consciousness with the ship's eye. They become part of the vessel itself during combat. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Many species had strict laws against eye-organic integration after seeing what it had done to the Devourers. This is exactly what we feared, Kreith hissed. Humans are becoming like the enemy they fought. Dr. Kate Miller stepped forward from the human delegation. Her calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos around her. Council members, may I address the psychological warfare concerns? Chancellor Fexnine nodded. Proceed, Dr. Miller. Kate activated a holographic display showing captured Devourer specimens. We've successfully communicated with 17 captured Devourers. They've provided crucial intelligence about the remaining Nexus forces. Communication. Crystal Singer Veleth's voice rang with disbelief. The Devourers don't communicate. They only consume. That's where you're wrong, Kate replied. Humans discovered that Devourers can be reached through specific psychological techniques. We use methods that the Coalition considers unethical. She showed footage of human interrogators working with Devourer prisoners. Instead of traditional questioning, the humans used devices that projected confusing images directly into the aliens' minds. These techniques cause no permanent harm, Kate explained, but they bypass Devourer mental defenses completely. Ambassador Kreith stood up, his tail lashing angrily. You're torturing them mentally. This violates the rights of sentient beings. And the Devourers violating billions of lives violates nothing. Colonel Brown shot back. My method saved Coalition lives by giving us enemy battle plans. The chamber fell silent as everyone processed this information. Admiral Blake stood up to address the Council. Council members, I understand your concerns about human methods. But consider this, we now have complete tactical data on the remaining Devourer fleet because of these techniques. Show us, Chancellor Fexnine demanded. Kate activated a new display revealing detailed schematics of Devourer ships and battle formations. The captured Devourers revealed the location of the Prime Nexus. It's hiding in the void between, a pocket dimension between our reality and theirs. Impossible, Veleth chimed. No ship can navigate the void between. Nick Brown smiled grimly. No normal ship, but human vessels can phase shift through dimensional barriers, remember. Captain Morrison stepped forward. Council members, I've seen the new Devourer fleet. They're stronger than before, and they're heading for your worlds. Your conventional weapons can't stop them. But human weapons can. Hive Queen Zill asked suspiciously. Human weapons are designed to break rules, Admiral Blake replied. We fight dirty because clean fighting gets people killed. Chancellor Fexnine processed this information for several seconds. The Council faces an impossible choice. Accept human membership and their violent methods, or face the Devourers alone with weapons that cannot hurt them. There's more, Colonel Brown added. Our intelligence suggests the Devourers are planning to attack during your Unity Festival next month. Every Coalition world will be celebrating together. The implications hit the chamber like a bomb. The Unity Festival brought together representatives from every member species in one location. They're planning to capture our leadership, Kreith realized with horror. Dr. Miller nodded. The captured Devourers confirmed it. They want to turn your leaders into devourer hybrids to control the coalition from within. The chamber erupted again as representatives shouted in fear and anger. Chancellor Fex9 raised its voice above the chaos. If this intelligence is accurate, we need human military support immediately. But the Council demands assurances about your methods. Captain Morrison looked around the chamber at the frightened alien faces. What kind of assurances? That humans will follow coalition rules of engagement, Velith demanded. Admiral Blake shook her head. Following your rules means losing the war. Earth learned that lesson 300 years ago. Then how can we trust you? Kreef asked. Morrison thought for a moment, then spoke clearly. You can't trust our methods, Ambassador, but you can trust our results. We've never lost a war. The chamber fell silent as the weight of those words sank in. The coalition had to choose between their principles and their survival, knowing that humans had already made that choice long ago. The red alert sirens wailed across Coalition Central as the massive Devourer fleet dropped out of hyperspace directly above the capital world. General Rob Williams stood in the command center, watching the tactical displays with grim determination. Enemy fleet count confirmed. Lieutenant Barry Thompson reported. 97 ships, sir. They've grown since our last intelligence report. Through the observation windows, Rob could see the twisted shapes of evolved Devourer vessels blotting out the stars. Their black hulls pulsed with veins of silver energy, and tentacle-like appendages writhed from their sides. Coalition fleet status? Rob asked. 200 ships responding, sir. But early engagement reports show our weapons are having no effect. On the main screen, Rob watched coalition cruisers firing their most powerful weapons at the Devourer fleet. The energy beams and missiles struck the alien armor and simply dissolved, as if the ships were absorbing the attacks. Where's the human fleet? Ambassador Kreef demanded, his scales rattling with fear. 3 minutes out, Rob replied. The Ghost Fleet is phasing through from the dimensional border. Suddenly, space around the coalition capital began to shimmer like water. Reality bent and twisted as human ships materialized from nowhere, appearing in perfect formation around the Devourer fleet. Captain Bill Turner's voice crackled over the communication system from his fighter squadron. Ghost Leader to command. We're in position. Beginning reality breach maneuvers. Rob watched as human fighters did something that defied physics. They flew directly through the hulls of Devourer ships, their phase shift technology allowing them to pass through solid matter. What are they doing? Velith chimed in confusion. Fighting dirty, Rob answered with satisfaction. The human fighters emerged from the other side of the Devourer ships, but they weren't alone. Each fighter dragged pieces of the enemy vessels with them, tearing chunks of bio-armor and vital systems through dimensional rifts. Direct hit on Devourer flagship, Lieutenant Thompson reported. Their primary weapon systems are offline. But the Devourers adapted quickly. Their ships began rotating through different dimensional phases, trying to match the human fighters. The battle became a deadly dance as both fleets shifted in and out of reality. Ghost Fleet, this is Admiral Patricia Davis aboard the Defiance, a calm voice announced. All units, initiate Nightmare Protocol. The larger human ships opened fire, but their weapons weren't normal energy beams. Instead, they projected streams of pure chaos, reality distortions that made space itself attack the Devourer vessels. Rob watched in amazement as one Devourer ship simply unraveled, its atoms forgetting how to stay together. Another vessel aged 1,000 years in seconds, crumbling to dust. Coalition ships, this is Admiral Davis, the voice continued. Fall back to minimum safe distance. We're about to use dimensional implosion charges. Dimensional implosion? Kreef asked in horror. Those weapons could destroy the entire system. Only if we miss, Rob replied grimly. The human ships moved into a complex formation around the largest Devourer vessels. Suddenly, space began collapsing in on itself, creating black holes that existed for only seconds but swallowed entire enemy ships. Devourer casualty count, 37 ships destroyed, Thompson reported. But the remaining Devourers weren't retreating. Instead, they began merging together, their bioships combining into larger, more powerful vessels. They're forming a megaship, Rob realized. One vessel larger than anything we've seen. The combined Devourer vessel was massive, easily 10 times the size of the largest coalition ship, its surface rigged with weapons and defensive systems. All human ships, Admiral Davis commanded, prepare for final gambit. Activate the living ship protocol. Rob watched in shock as the human vessels began changing. Their hulls rippled and flowed like living tissue. Weapons emerged from their sides like growing organs. The ships were becoming alive. "Sir," Lieutenant Thompson said, his voice shaking, "the human ships are. They're becoming creatures." The living ships moved unlike any vessel Rob had ever seen. They swam through space like massive whales, their biomechanical hulls growing larger and stronger with each passing second. Captain Turner's fighters regrouped around the transformed ships. "All units, this is Ghost Leader. The Big Ugly is trying to phase shift away. We need to box it in." The human fleet surrounded the Mega Devourer, creating a cage of reality distortions that prevented it from escaping into other dimensions. "Beginning consumption protocol," Admiral Davis announced calmly. To Rob's amazement, the living ships opened massive mouths along their hulls and began tearing pieces off the Devourer megaship, literally eating the enemy vessel. "They're not just destroying it," Rob whispered. "They're absorbing it." The battle raged for another hour, with human ships fighting in ways that violated every law of physics and warfare. When it was over, the Devourer fleet was completely destroyed, consumed by Earth's living ships. "All enemy vessels eliminated," Lieutenant Thompson reported. "Human casualties? 0, sir." Admiral Davis' voice came over the communications again. "Coalition Command. This is Admiral Davis. The immediate threat has been neutralized. However, our captured Devourer intelligence indicates the Prime Nexus is still active in the void between." Rob Williams looked around the command center at the stunned alien faces. Earth had once again saved the galaxy using methods that defied understanding. "Admiral," he said into his communicator, "what do you need to finish this war?" "Permission to enter the void between and hunt down the Prime Nexus." Rob looked at Ambassador Creeth, who slowly nodded his scaled head. "Permission granted, Admiral. End this war." 2 months after the battle for Coalition Central, the galaxy looked very different. Admiral Linda Thompson stood in the newly constructed Galactic Council chamber on Earth's moon, watching representatives from 47 species work together on the new Terran doctrine. "The dimensional barrier research has yielded promising results," Dr. Carl Lee announced to the assembled delegates. He gestured at holographic displays showing combined human-alien technology. "By merging coalition shield technology with human reality bending systems, we've created defensive barriers that even evolved Devourers can't penetrate." Captain Morrison sat at the human delegation table, still amazed by how quickly things had changed. After the Ghost Fleet destroyed the Prime Nexus in the void between, the Coalition had voted unanimously to accept humanity as full members. "The Terran Doctrine training programs are exceeding expectations," reported Instructor Margaret Bell, standing beside a group of mixed-species military officers. "Coalition soldiers are adapting to human irregular warfare tactics faster than anticipated." Ambassador Creeth, now Earth's strongest supporter, nodded approvingly. "The Saurian Defense Force has integrated human phase-shifting technology into 60% of our fleet. Our combat effectiveness has increased by 300%. Crystal Singer-Velith chimed in with harmonious agreement. "The Nexari crystal ships now use human imagination projection systems. Our telepathic defenses are stronger than ever." Admiral Thompson smiled as she watched the cooperation between species that had been suspicious of each other just weeks ago. The war against the evolved Devourers had forced everyone to abandon old prejudices. "Admiral Thompson," Chancellor Thex9 of the Mechanical Ascendancy addressed her, "please update the Council on the Ghost Fleet's current status." The Ghost Fleet continues patrol duties along the galactic rim, Linda replied. General Morris has established permanent monitoring stations in the void between to watch for any remaining Devourer activity. Dr. Lee activated another display. Our analysis of Devourer remains has led to several breakthroughs. We've developed new medical treatments by studying how human imagination affects alien biology. Margaret Bell stepped forward with her mixed species training squad. Council members, I'd like to demonstrate the new integrated combat techniques. She gestured to a Saurian soldier who was wearing human-designed armor. When the soldier activated the system, his movements became impossibly fast and fluid. Coordinator Rexus has learned to link his reptilian instincts with human AI systems, Margaret explained. The combination creates fighting abilities neither species could achieve alone. Next, a Nexari crystal being demonstrated how it could project both its natural telepathy and human creative thoughts simultaneously, creating defensive fields that confused multiple target types. The most successful integration, Margaret continued, comes from multi-species crews on human living ships. The display showed footage of ship crews working in perfect harmony. Mechanical beings handled calculations, insectoids managed biological ship functions, and humans provided creative problem-solving. These combined crews don't just follow orders, Admiral Thompson explained. They think together, creating solutions none of us could imagine alone. Captain Morrison stood up to address the council. 6 months ago, I arrived at Kepler-7, not knowing we'd been at war for 3 centuries. Now I'm watching 47 species work together better than they ever have. The galaxy has learned from human methods, Hive Queen Zill clicked approvingly. Sometimes rules must be broken to preserve what matters most. Dr. Lee brought up a final presentation. Council members, our joint research has produced something unprecedented, weapons that can convert enemy forces instead of destroying them. He showed video of captured Devourer bioships being transformed into peaceful exploration vessels, their aggressive nature replaced with curiosity and wonder. Human imagination combined with coalition science can heal even the most damaged minds, Dr. Lee explained. Admiral Thompson looked around the chamber at the diverse group of beings working together. The Devourers taught us that isolation makes us weak, but cooperation makes us unstoppable. Chancellor Thex9 stood, its mechanical voice carrying unusual warmth. The Terran Doctrine is hereby officially adopted as coalition standard. Admiral Thompson, humanity's integration into our civilization is complete. The chamber erupted in applause from dozens of different species, each showing approval in their own way. Captain Morrison stepped onto the observation deck overlooking Earth. The blue planet below showed lights from human cities and orbital stations where alien visitors worked alongside human engineers. Margaret Bell joined him at the window. Captain, do you think humanity was ready for this responsibility? Morrison watched as a coalition transport ship piloted by a mixed crew departed for the outer rim. I don't think anyone's ever ready for war, Margaret. But when it comes, you do what you must to protect what you love. And now we make sure it never happens again. By staying strong, staying creative, and never staying alone. Above Earth, the Ghost Fleet maintained its eternal watch, while below, the galaxy's newest members helped build a future where imagination and cooperation would forever guard against the darkness between the stars.